When a competitor to one driver becomes his hero, I'm going to fill you in on it.
3, 2, 1.
What's up, everyone? Todd Brown, That Racing Show. Thanks for dropping by for this pit stop segment. Man, we got so much news happening this week in the NASCAR industry. Everything from the recent announcement of Indy going back to the oval, Spire Motorsports just buying up everything left and right, and Kyle Busch Motorsports, KBM, being sold. All the questions about where's Kyle going to go run the truck when he finishes out his season or his career like he always says he's going to do? Where's Brexton going to go? So there's so many questions going on here. So many people have covered that this week. And I'm going to circle back around it to an episode later on. But today, I want to talk about this racetrack in Wisconsin and short track racing. Now, this track is Beaver Dam Raceway, obviously located in Wisconsin. And this is a great story right here about drivers in the street stock division. Now, there was two guys competing for the championship this year, and that was Larry Richards and Jesse Cron. Now, only 3 points separated them going into the final race of the season. And following the next to last race, Larry had finished third in the feature, was at the scales, at the tech center, when Brandon Reedner, the tech man, noticed Larry take off his helmet, but paid attention that he did not get out of his car, as most other drivers do apparently there. And following that, Brandon's son, Easton, who is a race driver himself, runs in the Bandolero division, went down to take Larry a water. Obviously, hot night of racing. And when he got there, Larry let out a sigh and was unresponsive. And at that point, Easton started notifying everybody around, all the other drivers, and they jumped out of their cars and come to the assistance of Larry. Now, this is where it gets really interesting because the driver that was behind him and also Jesse Cron, who was competing against him for the championship, and Jesse's dad, Jim, climbed into the car. And after a little bit of work, were able to extricate him from the car, which apparently, by the way the cage was set up in this car, it was really very difficult. But luckily, they were able to get him out. They were able to use a defibrillator from the sheriff to start working on him. They actually took him into the tech room and closed the door and started working on him, and thankfully were able to revive Larry, who suffered a heart attack while sitting in the car after the race. Now, following this, the ambulance showed up and took Larry to the hospital where Larry underwent a triple bypass surgery. And but man, this is so great. And I'm going to tell you, you're going to follow along with this because this isn't even half the story right here. But we'll get to that here in a second. But the greatest thing about this was his competitors. The guys he was racing against for the championship were there to save his life, to be there for him. And I think this is the greatest part of this story right here. It's just because in racing, you can race with people, you can beat and bang with them, you can fight them. But when something happens to them, you're right there with them. And on short track racing, the camaraderie between these guys, something really, really huge. Now, to the second part of the story, this is where it's just, honestly, it's an enlightening. It's such a great story. That's why I had to share this with you. Now, following this, of course, there's one race left to go in the season. Jesse is trailing Larry by 3 points. When the family of Larry gets a phone call from Jesse, Jesse offers to drive Larry's car in the final race. Now, at the track, they have this provision that a driver is allowed to have a relief driver for one race per season. Larry had not had to have anybody in the car prior during the season, and Jesse himself stepped into that car and went out and won the championship for Larry. And that to me is just amazing. So cool. Now, this shows the camaraderie amongst people. And the thing about it was Jesse said that his family, Larry's family, who they are chassis builders themselves. Larry is a local legend. He's a legend around the area. They have outlaw chassis. And even though Jesse wasn't driving one of these chassis when he first started out, Larry and his family were there to help him out. And he wanted to return the favor by doing this. And like I say, man, this should be world news right here because this is humanity. This is something that's great. And I think would be a great story to be a lot farther along than just on my little channel here on YouTube. But anyways, had to share this with you because this is racing. This is real racing right here. And man, want to talk about it with you now. If you know any more details on this, or perhaps you were even part of this situation, you see this episode, and I got any more input on this or anything to do with this, please put them comments down below, because always I love to talk racing with everybody. And like I say, again, we're going to circle back to all the NASCAR news, but this deserved today. It deserved its own episode. And thankfully, Larry's alive, healthy now, getting better. And Larry was actually able to watch the race, the championship race on Dirt Vision, and see Jesse win that. So I could not imagine how emotional that was for him. But anyways, as I always say, put them comments down there. I hope everybody's going to enjoy the racing this weekend. Got Talladega, got the Roval coming up after that. It's going to be interesting to see who makes it through to the next round. And going to be doing a lot of stuff with the Roval here next week, because in my neck of the woods, so why not? Anyways, hope everybody is having a great week out there. And as always, we'll see you at the checkered flag.